Hello everybody, welcome back to the 1% Better Recruitment Podcast. I'm your host Charles Kiriakou. This week's episode I'm joined by Elkie Holland, who's the founder of Prospectus IT Recruitment. Elkie has recruited in tech, IT and is a legacy systems talent specialist. She's been in the recruitment industry since 1985, so she has shared so many interesting stories and given loads of value around how this industry has changed. But the key topic in this episode isn't just purely AI and how you should jump on the bandwagon, but specifically what can you as a founder, what can you as a recruiter do with AI? Because the biggest quote she said the first time I spoke to her is that recruiters using AI, it's like being on steroids, right? It's kind of a non-negotiable these days, but Elkie has tried and tested a variety of different AI products and services. She's even gone out of her way to create her own one, a product called TED, which she talks about in this episode. So she's someone that's incredibly knowledgeable around that and has also talked in this episode around how she's utilizing AI to win better business and make sure that her candidates are getting better opportunities, etc. So tons and tons of value for you guys in this episode. And to be honest, I had so much fun talking to Elkie. I could have talked to her all day, to be honest. So I'm sure that you guys are going to enjoy. Finally, from me, we are very close to having a testable product for Milo. So if you are interested in utilizing technology to help with call coaching, that's exactly what we're building. I'll put a link below this episode so that you guys can join our early access group. Elkie is actually going to be helping us with some testing, which I'm really excited about. And then finally, make sure you don't miss an episode by following on Spotify, Apple, subscribing on YouTube. Don't miss out on any episode. All my clips as well go on YouTube Shorts and TikTok, so you can see little short form content on there as well. But that's enough from me. Really excited for you guys to listen or watch this episode. Let's get straight into it, and we'll see you soon. Hello everybody, welcome back to the 1% Better Recruitment Podcast. I'm your host Charles Kiriakou. Today I'm joined by Elkie. I'm at Elkie's office. Thank you very much for joining us on the podcast. Before we go to an intro, I want to say, because it's quite an interesting story on how we actually got in touch, because we first spoke, a week and a half ago, not even that? Yeah, so it was, what's his name? Gareth. So I was meant to have him on the podcast, sent me a message, said, who in your network would you recommend? And no word of lie, I think he came back to me in 30 seconds and said, reach out to Elkie. I was like, okay, who's this person? You got LinkedIn profile, looked at your LinkedIn profile. I think he sent like an email with you in it and it had your whole podcast thing and everything like that. And I was like, this person sounds incredible to get on the podcast. We had a wicked conversation and obviously in your office today. But for people who obviously don't know who you are, what your sector is, what your business is, etc., just give us a bit of an intro.
Thank you. Elkie Holland, Prospectus IT Recruitment. Been around for a while. I believe it was 1985 when I first started in recruitment.
Wow, I was
So thank you so much for that. I could feel my age. Okay, I do feel my age. But obviously I've seen recruitment go through loads of changes through that time. Always been in IT, tech recruitment. Created a few businesses along the way. Sidelines, sold them. Always stayed true to my main business, which is recruitment, which I love and adore. Have created an AI talent partner, TED, which is basically to target candidates, engage with them and deliver. And we let clients use that as well. And obviously with AI, we use it internally, but in the right way, in my humble opinion.
Yeah. What I find really interesting, right? We were just speaking before we click record about how there are agencies that are pretty old fashioned and like a bit like, I don't want to use AI, like let's just do it the old fashioned way, which is fine. There's a space for it, right? Then you get other companies that are so tech focused that they forget the fundamentals that recruitment is a people industry, right? You need to be on the phone, need to be meeting people, etc. But what I think is really, really interesting is that you've been in this industry since 1995. And I said it was a great 85, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, so I wasn't too. Oh, God, I was minus, God knows.
Yeah, that's another decade. Thanks.
But what I was going to say, and I say this with the greatest respect, that let's be honest, most people from your generation are pretty backward. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
No, in recruitment. Like,
No, they're probably retired.
Okay, or that.
I just love my job.
And upon what I've just said there, that does sound kind of rude. I didn't mean it like that. But what I'm trying to say is like the bosses that I used to work for in the past, where it's like, can we get a LinkedIn recruiter license? You don't need LinkedIn, like da. You get a lot of people that are of the older generation that are pretty like technophobic. I've got uncles that are only 50 that don't like, can you burn a CD to get music in my car? I'm like, what are you on about? Like my laptop don't even have a CD drive. What are you talking? Oh, I'm not into that technology. I'm like, you're only 50. But like, you've been in this industry for this amount of time and you've created your own AI workflow. It's bloody impressive.
Thank you. I think I'll just take the compliment. Thank you. And it's asking it. Yeah, but you've got to move with the times. if you don't, you can't stand still in business. Business doesn't stand still. And if you stand still, then everybody else is moving. You're just left behind.
Yeah.
So, and I've seen the advances, some of them good, some of them interesting, but the tech moves. I mean, loads of people today won't even remember that there used to be a fax machine.
Yeah.
I remember when that first came out and we used to fax an A4 page of a job, like a cartoon down, say to the client, HV, you're standing there because it's a little risque. Wait till we go into the content of some of them, and that was the way you'd build with clients and things like that, as well as the CV.
Yeah.
And they'd stand there. That way they'd read it after the cartoon. But you have to keep moving with it.
Yeah.
And again with social media, when that came in, your talent changes.
Yeah.
So, they're not in the same place. There's a great book, Who Moved My Cheese?
We were talking about the cheese tax and the offers of the dog earlier, weren't we?
No. The Labrador, you can't open the fridge and get the cheese out without giving him a little bit. Yeah, that was my son's invention. It's cost me a fortune of cheese since then. It apparently goes to the fridge.
So what's this book about?
It's basically where the talent goes,
Okay.
as in it's no longer in the right place. The talent is still out there,
Yeah.
but you have to find it in different places. It's a bit like if you think about a pub. Some days that pub's in favour and all your group goes there. And then do you know what? 6 months later, they're not there anymore. They've moved on. You're drinking somewhere else. It's exactly the same. And certainly with tech recruitment, they move channel. They were the first ones on CompuServe, which is now the internet and emails and stuff.
Right.
And the old chat groups, news groups.
Yeah.
Okay. But it moves and it goes to Twitter. So you have to move with them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to be in a pond where there's no one left and no one's really talking.
Do you think so people are calling it the AI revolution, right? So I remember when social media started to really pop off. So I think it was 2009. Hey guys, quick one before we jump back into the episode. If you are a recruiter who feels like half your week disappears into admin, follow-ups, data cleaning, and jumping between several different tools, then listen up because this episode is officially sponsored by SourceWhale. SourceWhale is the recruitment productivity platform, and I don't just mean another tool that you'll forget to use. I mean the tool that actually gives you your time back. You can run your entire desk in one place. Outreach, sourcing, data enrichment, multi-step email and LinkedIn sequences, inbox management, and even call notes. It's all there, synced, automated, and according to their stats, recruiters using SourceWhale see 56% higher response rates, double the pipeline, and approximately save around 8 hours of admin every single week. If you're like me, admin as a recruiter is the devil, and this productivity platform really helps you save a load of time. So reach out to SourceWhale, go to sourcewhale.com. It's a fantastic platform. I've used it myself. I really believe in it, and I'm super grateful for them sponsoring the podcast. Let's get back into the episode. It's like I was still a teenager, and that's when Facebook was starting to come out and stuff. And Facebook back then, if you remember, was just your friends, right? There was... You're laughing.
I am laughing. Yes, sorry, go on. The story there.
But what I was going to say is that, like, when social media first came out, it was like you had your friends and stuff like that, right? And it evolved so that businesses started to go, hang on a minute, how can we use the ads on Facebook, and how can we market things on Instagram when that came out, and Twitter and LinkedIn became more social media-y. And the reason why I'm saying this is that when LinkedIn started to turn away from just adverts to personal branding, there was this revolution in the recruitment industry of like, everyone's got to build a personal brand, right? So my question to you around AI, do you think the AI revolution in the recruitment industry has actually taken off yet?
I think it's still in its infancy. That doesn't mean it hasn't got any speed. Its speed is meteoric. And I think you need to get on board the AI train correctly and in the right carriage. So you don't get left behind, but so you travel right. You don't go off the rails as well. Even with social media, I mean, when that was a revolution, I ended up speaking at the second social media and recruitment conference as a success story, apparently. I remember at the British Library's dying on my butt, actually, of embarrassment with one of my little verbal faux pas, which happen every now and then. And I sort of describe Facebook as when you take your clients home or your friends home, but you don't take. Anyway, we won't go there. We're not going to reincarnate it. But it's the same with AI. You have to be on it. You have to use it the right way. And there are going to be lots of mistakes along the way. That's everybody and individually. So have I made mistakes with AI? Yes, you can go down a rabbit hole and lose it. So but I think the journey is just beginning. But it is one of the fastest growing. If you look at all the data and stuff, the take up of Facebook, the take up of LinkedIn, the graphs are quite like this, and then you get to AI, and it's
Yeah.
pretty big and pretty steep,
Yeah. Well,
and it's everywhere.
yeah, it is. I remember we met, so when we were building Milo, we met this company that had been in the AI space for a real long time. They gave us an astronomical quote to build the product, and they were mainly in video kind of personas, like creating AI personas with video. And obviously recruitment's mainly on the phone, right? So we were thinking maybe not the right fit. Anyway, I bumped into him at this learning development conference, and his technology in like 6 months had just gone like that. And we were talking about voice AI that 9 months before we started Milo, voice AI was janky. And a lot of people that were thinking about doing stuff with like voice agents and stuff, I've had this lady called Sarah Leet on the podcast, and she demoed a voice AI like sales rep, but the voice AI was so behind at that point. And not even 6-9 months later, you get some of these companies with voice AI that sounds human.
Yeah.
So the AI, like to what you just said a second ago, the way it's accelerating right now is kind of scary.
Keeping up with it is hard. So it is a constant treadmill. And literally it just sort of like increases the steep and the speed at the same time. Occasionally you get to a plateau and go, oh, I can breathe again. Oh no, next bit. But it is advancing all the time. So, I mean, video in recruitment, by the way, was out about 20 years ago because I trialed it back then.
Oh, really?
Yeah, way pre-COVID. And it wasn't until COVID that people really got on board with, video meetings and things like that. And then would consider accepting a video interview. So, as in a recording. So,
What about for international recruitment though?
Sorry?
So if you had an office in London and you were recruiting someone in Berlin, were people still reluctant to do video interviews if they were international, or they just?
I know what back then.
Yeah.
Back then it was very geographical.
Oh, right, okay.
So, of course, certainly for us, it was much more geographical because you had your database. The data was closed in. Now it's much more open.
Yeah.
And you can find information. So, I mean, I had a rude awakening, probably about a year ago. Or in fact, it wasn't that long ago. It was one of the hurricanes that was coming, and it was going over Jamaica. And I was sitting there, and I realised that actually I had a boy, one of my lads, I call them my boys, contracting for me, and he was there about to lose all power. I'm worrying about him, keeping in touch with the client, going, oh God, the weather in a Caribbean country is affecting me and my business. Then I had obviously the war, and that had an effect again. That was in Holland. We had problems there because of that. And I was talking to someone in the Amazon rainforest, actually.
Oh,
It was
wow.
lovely. Yeah. And it was in 1 week, and I just thought, I actually recruit everywhere globally because it's not as important, certainly in tech, as to where the person is. Certain things, if you're doing warehouse recruitment, it's still very geographical. So no, now people will quite happily jump on Teams and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So if I'm a recruitment founder listening to this, or maybe even a recruitment consultant, in a business, you need to obviously be thinking about implementing AI. But to your point earlier, I think some people get overwhelmed with what's out there. And I had this guy on the podcast again called Rob Saltrees, and he talks about figuring out your workflows, your frameworks, what issues you have, and then thinking about what AI can do to help with those things. But I guess from your perspective, where you've actually built your own AI tool for the business and stuff, and have been in this space for a while and tried and experimented and had success and had some failures, what advice would you have for people in the industry when they're thinking about implementing AI into recruitment?
Stop and take a breath first. And get ready, because it's one hell of a ride, but it's rewarding. But the first thing, certainly with my staff, I remember going to each department and each person and sitting down saying, okay, remind me what you actually do. Which is a terrible thing, because when you get someone, they're trained and they're running that bit, you let them carry on because they're doing their job. My job isn't to do their job. Obviously, I wouldn't have one. And I just go, they're going, are we going to be replaced? I said, no, I want to understand, because then I want to be able to help you. And so you'll be working with it. AI is a bit like co-intelligence. So in the old days, you'd have your Encyclopedia Britannicas way before your time to get the knowledge, so it's the co-intelligence. So get the acceptance before you start. So if you're working for other people, you need to get them on board. Otherwise, number one, you can build whatever you like and they won't use it. and you'll get the resistance. And if you get that, there is 0 point whatsoever. If you point out that it's to actually help them, and I sort of say put them on steroids, to be more effective, more efficient, and take some of the heavy lifting, then they actually come up with ideas themselves. So if you're looking to implement in a business, go and speak to the people first. Don't just sit in your ivory tower. If it's for you individually, there's 2 ways. One is go and play, go to millions of talks and webinars and things like that, and drown in information, okay? Or start small. Think of a problem or something that you think isn't necessarily a problem, but could be done better, and go, oh, I wonder if, and I wonder if it could help me in this. I wonder if, and then I wonder how, and work with AI to achieve that. It's like, how could you help me with this? Could you help with that? And you can ask the questions. When you think about it as help and assistance, take the problems and the speed, and it will help teach you what you can have. So death by courses is a common problem.
Yeah.
Going into, the vortex and rabbit holes. I mean, I put a LinkedIn post up which said, stop trying to learn AI. And the point of that was like catchy headline, which is great. But the guts of it was start with a need and then use it to help create a solution for that need. And by doing that way you learn and keep your brain open, thinking, oh, so it starts with the questions. How, why, what can it do for me? All the standard questions.
Yeah.
And then do it.
Yeah, because it is so easy. Because when we started to figure out that we were going to get into the AI business, started following loads of AI pages on Instagram, so that as I'm scrolling on the toilet, I'm like learning about AI and stuff like that. But then you start falling down this rabbit hole of like learning about quantum computers that has no impact on the recruitment industry now, for at least. And I'm thinking, okay, like my brain is getting overwhelmed now about all this AI stuff. And then I remember I worked with a business coach, and the first session I had, 10 minutes later, he sent me like a full comprehensive report with like quotes of what I've said, a coach's observations. I was thinking, Jesus Christ, that was quick. How did you write that up? And he went, I've got the note taker in the background, and I've got my pre-scripted kind of coaching report. So it just passes it through, and I just have to quickly read through and go, okay, it's not pulled anything nonsensical. And then it's sent to you with all the action points and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, because back then my biggest need and my problem was I spent way too much time at the end of each day from memory writing my notes after each call and then creating my own reports. So I guess to your point, like if I'm a founder, I'd be looking at areas of the business and speaking to the consultant like one-on-one and going like, where are you struggling? What is the problems that you're having right now? And then thinking, can AI help with that?
If you speak to most recruiters, one of the reasons they get into the business and the bits they love, well, certainly the old breed of recruiters, okay, it was to talk. It's what they do. It's their skill is to talk, to listen, to talk some more, to find out and use that. But through the years and the decades, there's so much more admin, so much more this, systems, that if you can take some of the heavy lifting of that away, then what you're actually doing, and we sit down with the recruiter and you explain it and say, if I could let you do the bits that you enjoy, they go, it's like, really? No employer really cares about you enjoying your job, but actually that's where the strength is, because recruitment is, and I think you said this when we've been talking before, and it's so right, it's a people business. And yes, you can create an AI system, okay? And I did about 2 years ago, and it literally went from a manager sitting at a desk going, oh, I need another body. What do I want? Typing in a few lines, answering a few questions, job spec, straight out to an advert, straight back into filtering all the candidates, straight back into interviewing them, assessing the interview, then coming back the assassination, then bring the shortlist back, and then even having the questions for the manager to actually have a final stage interview, and then go, yes, out of your 3 interviews of the shortlist, this is the one you should employ. It can do all of that. But when that person starts, are they actually going to fit culturally? You don't know. And is it actually the right job for them? What's their motivation? Chances are you haven't covered that. So use it, but use it in the right places. So keep the people part, but let it do the heavy lifting. Doesn't mean it can't. And there's an awful lot about AI shouldn't assess CVs, okay? How it's ethically wrong. And I hear what they're saying, but actually the other side of it, and I certainly hear the candidates, oh, recruiters don't read anymore. And it's like, well, if candidates don't read the adverts and then send CVs in, which are not applicable, and we're drowning, we've got to do something. So if AI can help order the reading priority, that helps everybody.
Yeah.
Because it helps the client get the right person faster.
Yeah, I agree with like when I was working with Josh earlier and he was showing on ChatGPT that he's put like a couple of CVs in there and it says which ones are tick the boxes based on what you're looking for, etc. But I totally agree with you. Having AI fully assess someone just off the back of a CV, like think about it like this. That this is something that Josh and I went through a second ago. Just because a CV isn't necessarily great or right for this role doesn't mean there isn't a home for that person.
Correct.
And also, like from a recruitment perspective, I say this to people all the time, just because that person's jumpy and they've been 6 months here, 9 months there are so many commercial insights that you can get from that, let alone just thinking about placing them elsewhere, right? So just because AI is going, nope, that's not going to be a right fit for your business, I think you could be missing a lot from that.
Correct. Agree. Which is why, to a certain extent, you should not just look at the CV for the job, but that's about having the time and depends. So taking a candidate to market, etc. But a recruiter should be using their brain, not just relying on AI. It's about co-intelligence. So, for example, if a recruiter does have a deadline, they've got to get someone to that client within so long and fast because they're desperate need, they then do have to focus on the top priority ones. That doesn't mean the others should get lost.
Yeah.
It means that they should, but again, it's time issue.
Yeah.
Does the recruiter have the time?
That's the biggest pain for a recruiter, isn't it? It's the time. You always hear recruiters not enough hours in the day. And if you can utilize AI to save you the time, like my biggest pet peeve as a recruiter was the admin and the research. Like doing all the admin at the end of each day, I hated it. And I used to forget to add notes to the system because this was pre-note takers, all the rest of it. And then the research, like, right, cool, we've identified a new market for you to set up. Go and do your research and figure out what companies. I'd be sat there going, oh my God, I've got to do a Boolean search on LinkedIn and then figure out which, can't be asked. I just can't be asked.
Oh,
just give me the list.
Boolean search on LinkedIn.
Makes me sound so dumb, by the way.
No, I'm just thinking back to the really good old days where that was not how it happened. You literally had the filing cabinet full of CVs and you go, that's so hard doing a Boolean search on LinkedIn. It's like, oh my God.
Do you know what? My first ever job, proper job in recruitment, I worked in a social care recruitment company for a few months, hated it. And then I moved to a nursing recruitment agency. And like, I was only there for about 2 and a bit years or whatever. Loved it. But I never forget my first day because in my interview, I told them I wanted to do BD. And in social care industry, you couldn't really speak to clients. It was weird, right? So on my first day, I went, you love BD, right? Cool. We've printed off a list of like 2,000 hospitals or like contacts within hospitals. Give them a call. So there's no, like for me, it was great because I didn't have to go and do research and Google and all the rest of it. We didn't use LinkedIn back then. I just had a list. That's great. I loved that. But then I had the problem of, okay, I've got 2,000 odd people to call. How do I do it? Like, what do I say? Like, what does a candidate do? Like, I was completely lost. And like, I think back now, if I had that with the power of AI now, like I wouldn't be pestering my manager going, what does a nurse actually do? Like, what's the average salary? Like all of that kind of stuff. On my way home, I could just be speaking to ChatGPT and like upskilling on the basic insights.
That's the point. It's like, I know that, and the way I've been teaching newbies and people I come into touch with, it's like, yes, okay, you can use AI, but use it to skill yourself, use it to learn. It is one of the best teachers, okay? As in, it doesn't replace side by side. Some people learn that way. But when you get a job in, I know way back, I used to go, oh, what's that? And there'd suddenly be this new alien word in tech, and I'd be going, oh. So I'd ring up, some of my favourite contracts going, help a recruiter out time. And they go, what do you need? And I went, what's this? And then they'd take the time to explain it to me. So a lot of my candidates and clients know me from asking very, very dumb questions. But they appreciated it because I was taking the time to try and understand the spec to find the right person. But now a recruiter, if they've still got that innate curiosity, to want to know, to understand, so they do a decent job, then having the AI, it's like gold dust. It's fabulous.
Yeah.
It's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. Well, I think my favorite quote from when we first spoke, what you said is that AI in recruitment is like having recruiters on steroids.
Oh God, yes.
And it really is. And my biggest pet peeve around the AI topic at the minute is where you hear people in our industry say, could AI replace recruiters and da da da. And look, I don't want to speak too soon because I don't think any of us really know the actual possibility of AI yet. Because as you said earlier, we're here and it's going to go like that, and it's going like an upward curve. Is accelerating at such pace. But my big thing, and some people call this old-fashioned, but the vast majority of people would agree with this statement. As to your point, it's a human job, right? It's a people business. If an AI you could screen someone on a call and all the rest of it, it's all well and good. But when you're a human, you've got that innate curiosity. There's subtleties in tone that you can pick up on and go, is that job really what you're looking for? You know, are you actually really happy where you are right now? You know, like, because we were doing a bit of research into monitoring tonality with AI.
I was about to say, I know.
And there's a legal thing right now where you can't hold biometric data. So a lot of the AI stuff now, and we're going through this challenge at the minute, is based on transcripts, right? So if an AI can only pick up on the transcript, you could turn around and be like, I'm really happy where I am. Oh, okay. What makes you happy where you are? Get paid well. I'm all good. Okay, cool. All right. Well, good luck with that. See you later. Whereas a good recruiter,
You hear.
and it's, I can't remember what the phrase was that I got taught when I was like really early on in recruitment, but like the first answer isn't always the answer. That was one of the things they said. And the what was the, it's going to bug me now. It's like the unspoken something or the other. And it's basically, we got told we had to meet every candidate. And the reason why is because it's the non-verbal language, essentially. And when you sit there and someone turns around and goes, mate, I'm really happy where I am. But if someone sat there and goes, I'm really happy where I am, and then like their body language is different, you're like, are you? Like, it's the subtleties of things that AI can't necessarily pick up on yet.
It's also, would AI really want to be as cheeky as recruiters can be?
Yeah.
You know, because you can ask the questions and you can offer the excuse going, look, I'm really sorry, but can I just double check? Because it's not sounding what I'm hearing. Are we having an off day with intonation or something? You can joke your way around.
Yeah.
You know, and I do often with people to say, if I do ask you something you don't want to answer because I've overstepped, it's okay. You just turn around and go, it's not a
Yeah.
problem. But I want to try, and I would say to be, it sounds very woo-woo, a holistic recruiter, which is probably very old-fashioned, but it's a job, you know, a developer and a developer. They may have the same skills, but it doesn't mean they seek the same environment.
Yeah.
They don't.
Yeah. And do you know what's really interesting, especially around tech recruitment? Something that I come across so often when I'm coaching recruiters is their clients get loads of CVs from other recruiters, right? And I'm like, cool, that's not really an objection. That's a smoke screen, right? What are those CVs like? What are those people like? Forget the CV for a second. What are the people like? Because I always try and figure out like what are the biggest pain points in that market. And in tech, typically, from my experience, I've never necessarily recruited developers, etc. But it's we get loads of CVs. As soon as we meet them, they're crap, right? You can put that CV through ChatGPT and it will go, "That's a fantastic candidate. You should send them to your client." Have you met that person? Have you actually really qualified that person? Because I've done it before where I've sat with a recruiter and I've not, they've done the Teams call and I'm sat by their side and the candidate is just awful. On paper, they're great. They've worked for the best businesses. They've built projects from scratch. They're great. But you meet them and you're like, I don't want to put you in front of my client.
Yeah.
know what I
I can take that a bit more and just go, yes, on a lot of them, on some of them, you're right. In the old days, and I will say the old days, we used to have a phrase, they used to be backroom boys. So they weren't client facing, but technically they were just the most amazing people. I mean, I remember very early on, I had a candidate and he was so spot on. I rang the client and I went, blah, blah, blah. I said, but, and he's not the most communicative. You really have to draw him out on this. She went, backroom boy. I went, exactly. I said, so I'm asking how much there is. And she went, is that person so and so and so? And I went, yes. She goes, you're right. Technically, he's brilliant. You've assessed him brilliantly, but he is definitely a backroom boy. She goes, we interviewed him, but it's not a backroom boy we want. So I was a little slow to the party, but she said, but you highlighted it to us, which was great. And she loved me forevermore after that because I was spot on skills, but I also took to her the person, not just the shopping list.
That is such an important story, and I'm glad that you brought that up because when I worked at a company called Projectus, we had a rule where you had to meet every candidate, right? And one of our values was honesty, and we got taught from an early stage in our careers there that even if you don't think the candidate's right, tell the client about the profile on the phone because the minute you send the CV, all the control's gone, right? But tell them why you think they're not right, and sometimes the client will go, "That's a good point. We'll interview them anyway." the expectation's been lowered. They interview them, you've prepped them and said, look, they might not be the best at communication, this and the other, but they've got this good skills, whatever it is. And then sometimes they might hire them. But the problem is most recruiters, they'll go, this candidate looks good, I'm going to send them and hopefully I'll get an interview and hopefully I'll get a deal. But you've not been honest with the client. And again, we're talking about AI and stuff. Like, that's one thing that a recruiter can do. It's just, but like, I used to do this all the time with clients, like, share my screen. This is my shortlist. This is why I've not sent this person. And just be honest with them. And I think clients will respect it so much more.
Yeah, but it's one thing you said in all of that, one word it comes down to: communication. And this is one form of communication, but it's not the only form of
Yeah.
communication. So that's flat.
Mm.
You know, it's like 2D a photo, you can't get the essence of the person.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard to get to speak to people sometimes, but if your client respects you, I mean, even in the old days, they were busy then.
Mm.
You know, I said, call me. And when I put that, they knew that there was a backstory that I was going to share with them.
Yeah.
And to why. Because I knew when they read that, they'd be going, she's lost the plot.
Yeah.
And I'd go, call me, meaning there's a reason why I've sent it.
Yeah.
And they'd ring me.
Yeah.
Why? Oh, this is why. And they went, but we don't need that. I went, it's just you see them. You know, and then they would. I mean, I've had a lot of trust through the years, which is very lucky. And then with clients interviewing people, and I've actually strongly suggested that they should. By the end of the week, they've actually offered them.
Yeah.
Because I've known what's going on in my market. And they went, did you know we needed someone? I went, maybe. It's like, thought you might get a deal and need to do more work and have extra manpower. Might have known that. Here you go. But it's about the communication and the trust. So the two things that you've picked up, communication and trust. And that doesn't matter whether you're recruiting back in the 80s or, you know, in the 2020s now. It is communication and trust.
Yeah.
And if you lose that, then you may as well have a full AI system that goes from there to there, and that's it.
And it's just, that's just 2D, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is.
But the clients, I think, are missing a trick if they don't find the right recruiters. Because you can get CVs, but you can spend a lot of time dealing with CVs as recruiters. We know that they should be talking to recruiters in advance and get them in the room to talk, literally, not necessarily even in the same building, but talk to them about what's the market doing. Because fundamentally, you know, recruiters actually do have the finger on the pulse, you know, because we hear, we listen, we know. You know what's going on in the client's department before they do most of the time.
Yep.
You know, obviously you're not going to spill the beans because otherwise you'd be out of business. You know, working in niche markets, I have for many times. They know I feel more like a priest sometimes going, yep, confession, I get it all, but I spill nothing. But you can help them and you can steer them to make decisions, especially if you're doing, I'm going to work a lot with legacy tech. You know, legacy tech, we want this. Really? That's great. You can want all you like, but that's not necessarily what you're going to get.
Yeah.
These are your options. This is what's out there. But the clients need to communicate and actually, to a certain extent, respect the recruiters. But the recruiters need to earn it as well. And just using AI to churn out loads of crap is not it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. The recruiters need to earn the trust because, unfortunately, I mean, I speak to how many recruitment businesses every week. There's a lot of bad ones out there. There really is, and
there always have been.
There always have been, and there always will be, because it's, you know, it's an unregulated industry. You know, we used to have a joke that if you can speak the language and you want to earn money, you can get a job in recruitment. Right? Most recruitment businesses will just hire anyone, and then they will churn really, really quickly. So there's a reason why, unfortunately, and this is one of the reasons why I set this podcast up, is to elevate our industry, right? But what you were talking about a second around the communication with clients, I think a lot of recruiters struggle with trying to call a client and then they say, we've already got a short list, you know, we've got an internal recruitment team and all the rest of it. And they really struggle with conveying the value of a recruiter, because there's a lot of businesses out there that don't use recruiters. And it might be because they may have done and had a bad experience and gone, right, that's it, never again. And we were talking about Rohit from Page earlier. My funny quote that went somewhat viral on YouTube was that I used to say to clients, like, that would say to me that I don't want to work with a recruiter because I've had a bad experience, is, have you ever gone to a restaurant and had a bad meal? Yeah. Have you never wanted to go to a restaurant ever again after? No, I'd go to another restaurant. I was like, fine. So you've had one bad experience with a recruiter. It doesn't mean all recruiters are bad. But then this is what I was going to say. The difficulty is for some recruiters is conveying their value, especially recruiters that are quite new to the market and et cetera, et cetera. What have you learned over the years? What advice would you give to people to really convey that value to clients to then build that trust?
Just be honest about your skills and cares, and be a person. and not a robot or a CV slinger. Does that make sense?
Mm.
So if you're asking for how to counter objections, you can have the same two different recruiters use the same line. One will get through, one won't. And that's because it comes from the heart and it feels. And I think that recruiters need to have a heart and care. And I think that's what will carry you past the objections and to stay there. So, you know, when you get knocked off once, of course you do. You know, it's like, fine. But you need to still care and go back again. You know, we're trying on our own. That's great. I wish you every success, but be genuine about it. Because when they struggle, they will use you. They do come back and they remember the recruiters who care and who think and who are human. And that's very much today, but that hasn't changed. And it is human relationships, always has been. So I know a lot of my business, the programs I placed when I first started as a rookie, then now they're my IT managers, directors, you know, built their own companies, and they still use me because I was actually, you know, possibly quite honest and maybe a little brutal with them when they were younger, you know, telling them not to go out wearing brown socks. Or white socks, actually.
White socks and a suit back in the day is just
sacrilege. Oh, no. Mine did. He had 3 interviews that day, and I remember he had rang in between each one because I said, in between each interview, you need to go to a phone box. They used to have phone boxes and they put 2p and 10p in, okay? Ring me and tell me what you thought. Because the bubble you get from a candidate when they've just left an interview and finished is very important to the recruiter to actually understand, especially when they've got multiple interviews, what they like and what they don't like. Candidates don't always realise what they're saying, but as a recruiter trained to listen and hear, that's what you do innately. And I just had to turn around and say to him once, I went, go to sock shop on your way to the train station, when you're going to that interviews on train, I went, and buy a pair of socks that aren't white. I said, if you think of showing up to a second interview with white socks, I said, I would never put you out again. He went, oh, okay. And he went and bought them, and he actually got an offer. Not from the one he wore the white socks to. No, the one he wore white socks to, the client actually said, I can't, because it was a city client. But he did get an offer from somewhere else, which was really more suited to him, actually. But he loved it. But he didn't wear white socks again. But he remembers me because I was blunt. You know, and honest.
That's just reminded me of the funniest story. I had this guy, he was an ex-policeman, went into medical sales for a few years. He was really successful, like great discipline, really, really good guy. The 2 national sales managers for the 2 divisions were relocated from America to kickstart the UK division up. Really, really good guys. They got like a Hilton Doubletree hotel with like a meeting room booked. And this candidate rocked up to the hotel in a tracksuit. Bear in mind, it's like an hour and a half drive, right? So, you know, you want to be comfortable in the drive.
Okay.
But he got changed in the lobby.
Okay.
The clients were there having a coffee and was like, Elliot. And he was like, oh, hi, mate, you're right. Wearing a tracksuit, trainers and everything like that. Immediately, first impressions completely ruined. When he goes to the interview, he's in a suit. They were like, oh, you decided to get changed with you. So the feedback was, Charles, why has your candidate rocked up in a tracksuit? I was like, what? We used to have this famous question. My colleague Kat, this Irish girl, would always ask candidates. It sounded better from her. She'd always be like, so what tie are you wearing for your interview? Always. That was her way of being like, are you actually going to wear a bloody suit and tie? As a bloke asking, what are you wearing? So, what do you mean? I'm an experienced sales rep, Charles. I just wear a suit. So we used to just jokingly be like, what colour tie are you going to wear with your suit? As a way of being like, you're going to dress well. Never in my mind did I ever think to prepare a candidate for interview, go make sure you don't rock up to the place in a tracksuit.
Actually, I used to ask not the coloured tie. That would have been much better. I wish I'd had that. Let's down. How many holes in this set of jeans you're wearing for the interview? And they go, I'm not wearing jeans. I went, just checking. I hadn't thought of the nice version of what colour tie.
That's a good one. I might have to. That's quite funny.
And they go, but I'm not wearing jeans. I'm so pleased.
Is your sector changed in terms of dress code now?
It seems to have done, yes. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, even in the office for me, everybody used to be suited, booted. In fact, you know, at one point in through the years, I was suited and booted too, literally shirt and tie as well. Female dress suit. And that was it. That was what you wore.
Yeah.
But these days it's not. It's more casual. I think if you look at it, it's probably come from, well, obviously COVID home working, that's you know, with the shorts underneath the desk. But also at the conferences and things, the Americans used to come over and they'd be wearing the polos.
And the gilets and stuff like that, yeah.
And then I think that's moved out as well.
Yeah, because I used to be suit and tie. I was speaking to my business partner about this, that whenever I used to get my commission check, I'd always go out and buy a new tie, their set of shirts, etc. And then after COVID, I still wore a certain shirt and tie. And I just thought to myself one day, I was like, this is like so uncomfortable. I've been doing this for years, like wearing dress shoes every day, walking miles. It's like, this is uncomfortable. And then we went to a conference and we were the only recruiters in shirt and tie, suit, etc. And we were like, has the market changed? It's like, do people still rock up to interviews in shirts and ties now? And I started speaking to clients and they're like, we just don't do that anymore. Like we're like, especially for field sales reps, it was comfortable trainers, jeans or chinos and a polo. And we were like, so we've got to kind of adjust now. And then when I went to, when I set my consultancy up, go to an office and like tech recruiters, we were sat in like cargo trousers and t-shirts. I was like, oh, okay. I guess it's just changed.
Yeah, I think it has changed. I mean, I know that recently I was challenged in my office. Um, I don't want to. And I went, I beg your pardon. I said, you have to be dressed to impress. So I actually did spend, and I monitored the meetings that I had in fact, it was for a 2-week period because I wouldn't give an answer straight away. It decided to be a little bit difficult. I went, and I realized that actually most of the people that I was speaking to were not in shirt and tie.
Yeah.
And then obviously we had the excessive heat, so I relented. I sort of lost the battle, but I allowed it to carry on.
Yeah.
Deferred full judgment, but yes. So, I now I mean, for women, I think it's a lot easier.
It always has been, to be fair. We used to have, well, I don't know, like from my experience in recruitment, we had gender debates in the office when we had to have a heat wave. And I remember there's this one guy, I won't name names, but he complained to the boss. It was like, why do I have to come in a shirt, tie, suit, and the girls can come in sundresses? Do you not see how unfair that is? And it's like, can I not come in chino shorts? And summer, like most of our candidates were in polos, can I just wear a nice polo top and chino shorts? Absolutely not. And then girls were coming in long dresses and they had trainers underneath. You couldn't see the trainers because the dresses were covered, but we had to wear dress shoes. And then I just remember sitting there thinking, actually, that is not fair. Like,
but I will counter that and say, do you know what? When you go to business conference, you can wear the same suit, change colour shirt, and change tie. It's a lot easier.
That was the counter debate.
Yeah, that was the good bit. But in the heat, when we didn't have aircon in offices and things like that, a long time ago, we used to have bear as you dare, because it was like a little sweat box. And I used to go, holy crap! So I said, right, it's bear as you dare, which means you keep a jacket on the back of your a shirt on the back of you walk down the corridor, you put it on and walk down. Obviously there was no video calling in those days. And it literally you wanted to go to the toilet, you picked up your shirt and you actually put it on. I hasten to say that we were just in very little string tops, not nothing. It was as bare as you dare days. And I think everybody appreciated it because we'd just wilted and it's like,
so well, we used to have a like a little coat rail in the office with like people would just leave blazers in there. So like if you had like a medium, small or large, there'd be blazers there and then like a little bag of ties, like a red tie, blue tie, whatever. So if you were in the office and you were just wearing a shirt and you had to go meet a client for coffee, go and find a blazer, put it on as long as it matches. If they're like a smart client, put a tie on, etc. But yeah, one of my first ever clients that I won when I started consulting, I first rocked into jogging bottoms, like I was like leggings for the girls, and like I was like, what the hell is going on? And then I saw they had a coat rail, and I was like, oh, blazers and no, just branded t-shirts. I was like, really? And they were like literally branded t-shirts, branded polo tops. Like some clients, they're like more polo. They're tech. Like all the developers they would ever meet were always in like the t-shirt or hoodie. So they had hoodies as well for winter. Yeah.
And you know what? Those guys probably still be in the same clothes 2, 3, 4 in the morning. I know because I quite often be side by side with them. Working. And then sometimes they'd still be there the next morning. So it made sense for them to be comfortable. But I will say that you guys have had the advantage going way, way back. You would be suited and booted. We would get dressed and go to the client sites and go, okay, guess I better wear a long floaty skirt or whatever. So I did on one particular occasion, went to a client site and he showed me around. And this was in the days of mainframes, okay, where you'd have computer rooms. Massive machines. They're all so proud of their big machines. Okay, keeping it clean here. They wanted to show off their big machines. So we went for a tour to see the big machines and maybe some of the, WC accounts. Well, this is so great, this is great, lovely, thanks very much. Getting a good feel for what's going. Then we'd go in to the computer room. But they need ventilation because the machines get hot. Yeah, if I just say I ended up standing there trying to hold a client conversation whilst doing Marilyn Monroe, holding my skirt down as it's just flown up. And I swear to this day that client had no interest in showing me. He just wanted to get me in the computer room, really.
That's bad.
I was very young. It was very funny. And I think I did laugh over lunch. I went, was that just a happy accident or was that? We'll let that one hang there. So yeah, on some occasions you guys had it a lot easier.
Yeah. That was literally the counter debate though. Like I remember when I first dated like my now wife, she was my girlfriend. We used to walk to London or from the station to the office together. And I just have like a set of suits, a set of shirts, a set of ties.
Yeah.
She was like, it's so easy for you because
Yes,
all you
it
just
is.
wear
Yep.
a blue suit on that day, a grey suit that
Yep.
day, different colour shirt, different tie. I've got to think about what outfit I'm going to wear.
Colour, short, long, straight, floaty.
It's a lot, yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I broke my wrist a couple of years ago and I had to have someone come in and help me do my washing and hang them up with my girlfriend. So I went, could you help hang up? She goes, okay, because I really just couldn't use the hangers and stuff. So she hung my clean laundry up, I hastened dry, in the laundry for it to dry. And she literally goes, I know you had a lot, but it's only when you see you're washing and I have about 16 black t-shirts. That's it. Because it works well with whatever background I'm on, because I do a lot of video work. The bottom goes a bit wild every now and then. It's a day-to-day, but yeah, but it's so much easier. Just it's always a black t-shirt.
I had this conversation with my business partner the other day, and he likes to chop and change things and wear a blazer and blah blah blah. And I said, mate, do you know what? Like when I saw that company that had the branded t-shirts, I just went out and my old logo, I just made 5 Charles Kiriakou coaching t-shirts and just wore that every day. And then on Friday or Saturday, do my washing, iron them. I've got all my shirts for the week and then a different pair of jeans or chinos.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it.
So much easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, when you're talking about your city shoes, just think about the poor women in stilettos.
Oh yeah, no way. Yeah. We had one day, this is so ridiculous. When we were doing nursing recruitment, we had like an open day on a Saturday for entry-level nurses to come in and do their compliance. So we all came in for like 8 o'clock in the morning and we had like 50, 60 nurses pop in and do all their, because the compliance for nurses it could take weeks. But this one was, rather than fax it from your hospital, come in, we'll scan the documents for you and talk you through the jobs. And as we were prepping and getting all the cupcakes ready for the candidates, one of my mates was like, oh, so-and-so's stilettos are under the desk. Day to put them on. I went, fuck off. And he went, what? They're probably not that hard to walk in. So a bunch of the girls were just like, you don't know how hard it is. I was like, that can't be that hard. So we're doing laps of the office in stilettos. We were like 22, 23 years old. We were stupid. But by the end of that day, I was like, yeah, how the hell do you guys do it?
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
Yes.
I've got a picture of that somewhere. It is the funniest thing ever.
We used to have to walk up and down the office after lunch when we did client lunches. And if you fell off the line, this was back in the 80s, if you fell off the line, you were sent home and told you'd failed at your client lunch because you were supposed to remain sober-ish.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. But I can't actually walk in a straight line when I am sober. So it's highly entertaining. So I could do what I liked, because when I came back, I could walk in that straight line. It was just the flip side. They didn't realise for a while.
Do you know what? That's just actually popped something into my head, because I was going to ask you about TED in a second. But
yeah.
That's another thing as well, because we're talking about AI, right? And talking about the things that it can and it can't do.
Can't drink with a client.
You can't drink.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're bang on. You're bang on. The last big account that I won just before the pandemic, it was, I want to say January or February 2020. And you remember the rumors were happening. There was that boat in Italy or whatever. And everyone was just like, it'll be fine. Like, we're all good. And we had these 2 clients come into the office, and I did the pitch of our retained service and all the rest of it. And it was at a WeWork, community workspace. And downstairs they had a cheese and wine night. And once I finished the pitch, we went through the terms. They were like, all right, we need to think about this. I was like, well, it's cheese and wine night downstairs. The whole office is going to go down. Have some cheese and wine with us. It was like, oh, sweet. And they had like a live band in the office. It was all cool. And one of the guys was like, do you smoke? And I've never smoked cigarettes, but if I have a couple of glasses of wine or beer, I'll have a cigarette. Went outside to the smoking area with him, and he pulled out a cigarette, gave it to me, and went, do you know how many clients I've got to sign a dotted line by sharing a cigarette and a beer with them? And I was like,
always.
Really? And he was like,
yes.
There's something about that, away from everything, outside, you talk about personal stuff. And he was like, I've had, because he sold to like orthopedic surgeons and minimally invasive surgeons. It's like, the amount of times I've done my pitch, I've demoed the product, we go outside for a cigarette with a beer.
That's when the real conversation happens.
Oh, my wife is leaving me, I'm never home, kids don't speak to me. And it's like, oh, really? And it's like, you have like really intimate chats with them. And I was like, oh my God. Lo and behold, they asked me after we signed the dotted line, like, where's a good bar to go? Me being really naive, I didn't realize it was like, let's go get pissed together. I was a bit of I'm going to go and train at the gym. They're like, don't be that guy. We're taking you out for some drinks. I got to know so much about them.
You did.
Like so much, like some really like very intimate things about them.
But you also shared.
Yeah, oh yeah, but maybe a
And
bit
that-
too much.
Yeah, but that creates the bond.
That's the point.
And if you can get the information from the client just by being there, then they know that that sort of character you can listen, which means that you can actually do a good recruitment job because you need to listen.
Yeah.
As my first boss in recruitment said to me, he said, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth.
Yeah.
Try using them in that perspective. And I went, oh.
Yeah. It's very true. It's the art, isn't it? I always say to recruiters that 80-20 rule, right? 20% is asking questions, 80% is listening, and it's the unspoken things that people say. And that's why the face-to-face stuff is like, for me, is the even if it is a video call, like just seeing their facial expressions of how they react to certain things is so important.
But the smoking, most of the business got done in the smoking outside the buildings. So when they banned smoking, and it was always outside, that was actually really good for business.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
We're just like rebels together, really.
Yeah. So tell me about TED then. So we had a little bit of a conversation about this. You've obviously mentioned it. Tell us a little bit about that.
Basically, after I went round to all the recruiters and looked at my own desk, it's like, where could it help? And what pain points the clients have? So it sort of came about as a mix of what we use internally to help us do our job, and how can we help the clients who don't perhaps want the full recruitment service because they've got internal talent acquisition, which obviously are recruiters. So we looked at what we did, and then we put some of that into TED. So the idea is they start with a job, but they don't always know what. There's loads of extra bits on it as well. And it's basically targeting and finding the talent, which isn't just throw out an advert. You know, there's so many different ways. We say we do no stone left unturned. So we go hunting and then we hunt down. So you find the candidates, so you target them, the ones you want, then you engage with them, the individuals, okay? And then you deliver, okay? It's a system which I insisted on being hybrid. So it can be done all automatically, okay? Just with AI, no human intervention, no human oversight. But I think human oversight is definitely still required, and real conversations. But AI does a lot of the heavy lifting on helping to find and source, even down to analysing, you know, where their hot point it might be, as in would it gel and why? Because if there's no why, then chances are it's not going to happen. If there's no answer to that. So it's aimed at clients. We do use a lot of it internally, and that's how it came about. And it's target, engage and deliver. TED, which is actually named after my dad, as I was working with tech and I was working with people actually around the world. I'd been doing Dubai, UK time zone, obviously still working with UK clients. Then I was in Australia. And then I was working with someone who was actually in Mexico and Argentina, depending on the time zones where I was going. But wait, anyone help? And I named it after him, TED.
Oh, nice.
So I was seeing him in Australia at the time. So, but it's very useful. It's fast. It's extremely fast. And it helps put your sights in the right direction. So if you do a LinkedIn search, I say you can go LinkedIn, you get search blinded. You're like,
yeah.
So what it does again is if you do a LinkedIn search, you come up with this pool, you know, you're most likely to look, possibly open and probably not. You know, LinkedIn, if you pay the expense, does that bit for you, but you've still got a number to go through. So it will just channel that and drop them into boxes for you. And also with questions as well. So if you've got 4 key questions, you can ask about this. It will give you their experience as much. Doesn't mean it's all, which is why you still need the human oversight, because nobody can write, and this is the bit that people miss, why AI is good, but it can't be everything. Because if you take someone with, say, 5-10 years experience on a CV of 3 pages, they cannot possibly put down everything that they've done. It takes a recruiter to eke out that information. And as you know from your recruiting days, a lot of the information that actually the client is most interested in is probably not actually in their CV. It's the bits you get from the conversation. But where AI can help with that is, as you've picked up earlier, transcribe the call. And then it will highlight those bits. So you don't, I mean, the number of times I've had to say to the candidates, when, you know, going way, way back, hold on while I try and type what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's bliss. So it's a hybrid. So it's taking the best of both. And it's effective, and it works.
You just brought something out that's really powerful, and this is why every business should be using the note takers, because to your point around the CV, the amount of times I've gone through a candidate CV with them, and I'm like, I used to recruit salespeople, and I'm like, okay, so you've been at Prospectus for 5 years. You told me that you were the best global sales rep 5 years in a row, but that's not on your CV. Oh, I don't want to brag, Charles. Do you want a good job? If I put this CV in front of my client, they're going to ask me, what have they actually achieved? And you've just told me the global sales rep for that business 5 years in a row, that's not on your CV. But to your point, if I spoke to a candidate about that and the note taker picks that up, you can then, I use Granola, right? Because it just works in the background.
Yep.
You could just ask Granola or whatever note taker app that you've got, what are the key things that their candidate has said that isn't on the CV? Unreal. Well, in terms of like the heavy lifting element we were talking about earlier, it's a great little takeaway.
It's wonderful. I mean, I changed to Recruit with Atlas in December for the AI, because it's built, a recruitment system built with AI at its center, because I thought it's very, very useful. And it will record the calls, and it does push it in. And it's actually incredibly good. It's done some amazing stuff. So it broke open a client for me on one thing. I'd badly let the relationship lapse, and I suddenly went, oh God. And I went, okay, haven't spoken to this client for a while. Where do we leave off? How can I get back in? And it helped me by looking at all the past exchanges that we'd had and said, okay, here you go. You were talking about this. Try going back with this. So the note takers are just phenomenal.
Yeah. I'll make you laugh, actually. So we were talking about SourceWhale before we clicked record. Because they sponsor the pod, they've obviously given me all the bells, whistles, the CRM and everything.
Yep.
And I've got a Mac Mini at home connected to my ultra-wide monitor. I've now just got a MacBook because my Windows laptop is just so slow. I didn't realise that it had a dialer that has the call transcription, the call recording, the AI search functionality for candidates and clients, etc.
Yep.
And when I first tried to use the dialer through my Mac Mini, I'd be calling clients and be like, hey, Elkie, it's Charles. They're like, hello. And I'm like, hello? And I'm like, shit. So I just stopped using the dialer altogether and was just adding people manually to my mobile and calling them, right? And then when I tried it on my laptop, the dialer was working absolutely perfectly. And Emily, who's been on the podcast, one of their AEs, I was asking her some questions about it and da-da-da-da. And she said about like, oh, if you've spoken to a client multiple times but haven't converted them yet, ask the SourceWhale AI and it will basically pick up off of every conversation. I was like, right. And since I've used the AI, like the dialer, sorry, like I didn't realize that it gave me the entire transcription, all the bullet points, all the action points and everything like that. So for all that time, basically going back to my old days of recruitment, doing it on my mobile and handwriting my notes, then typing it up. It was only until recently that I was going, finish the call, haven't made a single note, click one button, everything's there.
Yeah.
Like, and especially because I map out all my podcast guests, it's like, what did we agree on in terms of the podcast topics? Wicked. Okay. So they say they needed someone coaching their business. You're like, oh my God. This is just so much easier now.
Well, I've got one client now who uses me all the time. I mean, they used to use me anyway for those extremely hard to fill roles, which I actually really enjoy, and legacy tech. And they started using me. And after, I think it was one interview, obviously I had the transcripts. I sent my note taker into the meeting for them. And I just went, oh, how was the interview? So and so and so. And I sent them the raw text. I sent them 3 files, the raw text, a sanitized one without them, and then a quick summary as to the key points that they covered, the hot and the cold bits, where they were strong, where they were weak, on 1 page. And she's gone, oh my God. And every time she goes, you won't forget to send that to me, will you? You won't forget to. It's like, it's fine. And she loves it because she's HR. They're technical people. Okay. It is for, city client, and she's actually based in Europe. And she goes, thank you. Because sometimes technical people, when you're interviewing, they do go down a level and you're thinking, I don't want to get the strong way around, because then you're doing your candidate a disservice. So no, it's beautiful. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
Awesome. Well, look, we talked about a lot. There's been a lot of different bits of value and a lot of conversation that I think if I'm a recruiter, there's a good few things that I'm going to take away, and certainly as a founder as well. And I think for me, whenever I talk to people that have a lot of experience when it comes to AI, my biggest takeaway from all these conversations I've had is you've got to kind of figure out what the pain points are, what the problems are, what can help you with those types of things, and then look into the AI element and have fun with it. Like that's the big thing for me is like, a lot of people get doom and gloom about AI and all the rest of it. Like there are so many cool things you can do. You can just go around and play with it, build something, and you'll be surprised at what it can do. I think from this conversation, there's so many different things.
See, some of those are for off camera.
Absolutely. But yeah, as I finish every episode with the same question, following this particular episode, how can people get 1% better in recruitment?
Learn and keep going, as in, and use AI to assist you, not to do your job, but as an assistant. Think of it as a well-educated graduate that's there to do your bidding. But good instructions, you get good back. Shit in, shit out. It's very simple. Be specific, start small. And as you said, literally find out where it can help you by asking.
Yeah, banging. My favorite quote from you though so far is that AI, recruiters using AI, it's like steroids, like the recruiters on steroids. You've got to think, right? If you want to be like a competition grade strong man, strong woman, like super weightlifter, most of those guys are on the source. Like recruiters these days, your source is AI.
Yeah, very much so.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. I'll put all your details below if anyone wants to reach out to you. And for everyone that's made it this far, thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.